All right, this is a key to topic 18, and topic 18 deals with radicals. And this is the worksheet called Extra 3. And so each of the following, you actually simplify this result. And then we're going to assume that all variables represent positive numbers, so you don't have to worry about absolute value, and then no work is needed. Okay, so let's look at number one. So when doing these problems, what you want to try first, is to multiply the radicals together. So remember the product property, the product rule for radicals says if the indices are the same, so recall if you have the a root of b times the a root of c, let's say. So notice that the indices are the same, then you can rewrite this as the a root of the product BC. Okay? And so that's what we're going to try here. So notice when I do that, in each of these cases, when I do that, I get the square root of 8 times 2, which is 16. And now I can simplify this because the square root of 16 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. So that's the idea you want to use. You want to use the product rule for radicals to simplify this. Same thing here. Now this may be a little bit more complicated because these numbers will become larger. So I get the cube root of 16 times 32, and so 16 times 32, so 16 times 32 gives us 512. And so now what you're going to figure out is, well, is there a whole number times itself that's 512? So like 4 times 4 times 4, so 4 raised to the third power, 64. So obviously that doesn't work. So let's try 6. 6 raised to the third power is 216. I need 512. Let's try 7. 7 raised to the third power is 343. 8 raised to the third power is 512. So the answer is 8. All right. And then you have access to calculators. All you really had to do, by the way, is just say this is cube root. So you're going to press index 3. So your index is 3. Second, and then this button here. So you get cube root of 512 gives us 8, because 8 times 8 times 8 is 512. All right, now here you're going to use, see how we had the quotient rule? So here we can use the product rule. So if we have the quotient rule. So if you have the a root of b divided by the a root of c, as long as the indices are the same, I can write this as the a root of the quotient b divided by c. So here, when I do that, it makes things a lot easier for me because watch, this becomes the square root of 75 divided by 3, and then 75 divided by 3 is 25, so it becomes the square root of 25, which we all know is 5. So the answer is 5. Number 4, you have, again, the fourth roots are the same, so you're going to use the quotient rule. And so this becomes the fourth root of 162 divided by 2. And then 162 divided by 2, simplifying this radicand, I get the fourth root of 81. And the fourth root of 81 is 3. Because 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 3 is 81. The next one. So using the product rule for radicals, this becomes the square root of x to the 5th times the square root of x to the 3rd. Simplifying this, x to the 5th times x to the 3rd becomes x to the 8th. So that's the square root of x to the 8th. And from previous lessons, we know that I can simplify this because 8 is divisible by 2. So what times itself twice is x to the 8th? The answer is x to the 4th. All right, so that's number 5. Okay, let's look at number 6. So number 6, we have the product of cube roots now. So that becomes the cube root of x to the 4th times y to the 7th times x squared times y to the 8th. And again, you could have skipped that step, by the way. And so x to the 4th times x to the 2nd is x to the 6th. So when you multiply like bases, you add exponents. Don't forget to write cube root here. So that's x to the 6th. And then for your factors of y to the 7th times y to the 8th is y to the 15th. And then simplifying this becomes, let me put that here, this becomes the cube root of x to the 6th times the cube root of y to the 15th. And again, you can skip some of these steps because you could have easily done this without any work. And so that's the cube root of x to the 6th. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then 15 divided by 3 is 5. So the answer is x squared, y to the 5th. Okay? Over here, now the way I would do this is, first of all, I would write it as 4 times 2. And then I have the square root of 3 times 12. Okay, so we see the square root of 3, square root of 12 becomes the square root of 3 times 12. And 3 times 12 is 36. So 4 times 2 is 8, square root of 36. 36 is a perfect square. The square root of 36 is 6. So I get 8 times 6, which is 48. So that's number 7. Number 8, we're going to do the same way we did number 4. So if you go back to number 4, where we used the quotient rule for radicals. So we do the same thing. So I'm going to rewrite this as the cube root of x to the 23rd divided by x to the 5th. Now remember, one of your properties, the quotient rule for exponents. So remember the quotient rule for exponents. Remember, it said this: if you have x to the a divided by x to the b, when you divide like bases, you subtract exponents. So that becomes x to the, and the way you subtract, remember subtraction matters. So you got to take the exponents of the numerator first. A subtract b. And so this becomes 23 minus 5. So just want to remind you, this becomes a cube root of x to the 23rd minus 5. 23 minus 5 is 18. So it becomes a cube root of x to the 18th. And so what times itself 3 times is x to the 18th? Well, 18 divided by 3 is 6, so that should be x to the 6. So number 8, the answer is x to the 6. Number 9. So number 9, I want you to notice this. I'm going to write it like this for right now, just to show you. So the square root of 6x and square root of 6x, do y'all agree is the square root of 6x to the second power? That's the way I would write it. And so what times itself twice? What times itself twice is 6x to the second? Well, 6x, right? 6x. Now, what some students probably did was this. So they probably said, well, 6 times 6 is 36. Okay, that's true. X times x is x squared. That's true as well, right? And so this becomes square root of 36 times the square root of x squared. Square root of 36 is 6. What times itself twice is x squared? Well, x. So 6x. So you get the same thing regardless. And then over here, same thing, use a quotient rule. So it becomes the square root of 18 divided by 2 times x to the 5th divided by x. 18 divided by 2, x to the 5th divided by x. 18 divided by 2 is 9, so it becomes the square root of 9. X to the 5th divided by x, so remember, x to the 5th divided by x. When you're using a quotient rule for exponents, when you divide like bases, you subtract exponents. So that's x to the 5th, subtract, remember there's no exponent there, so it's going to be 1. So that becomes x to the 4th. So this is 9x to the 4th. And so then, and again, you can skip some steps, but then you would get the square root of 9 times the square root of x to the 4th. And so the square root of 9 is 3. Square root of x to the 4th is x squared. And so there's the answer. Okay? So that is the key to topic 18, worksheet extra 3.